And this is part two. Okay, so let's do our intros. Y'all like, share, subscribe, hit the super chat. This is part two of Put 'em in a Straight Jacket, right? Um, this one is kind of sponsored by Big Kev, right? Um, Big Kev put a couple dollars in right before I closed out of the last stream and asked for me to continue what I was saying, if I remember exactly what I was saying. And it was just, just how this can't be maintained. Um, we can't continue a society where people are so, it's not just financially illiterate, right? I think a lot of that is excuses because it really is a bigger systemic issue. And I actually said this to a conservative brother once, which is you better be happy, right? Um, and let's do our intros again. I know I just jumped right into the subject. Like, share, subscribe, hit the super chat. Um, and I said this to one of our conservative brothers once, and I was like, you actually better be happy that most people are financially illiterate. Because if they really knew how they were being screwed, if they really understood how much the game is rigged against them, if they really understood, because I think people know, like, they're not going to win the lottery, right? But if they knew how unlikely it is, and I don't mean the actual literal lottery, I mean like this kind of, if I just like bust my butt, then maybe I won't make it, but I'll put my children in the situation, or at least my grandchildren in the situation to kind of hit it big, big, right? And like, and I said to a brother once, like, yeah, you better be happy people are not financially literate. Like, y'all keep on screaming that. Y'all better hope, right? But and I'm saying all of that to say like this is not sustainable, right? Which has kind of been much of my theme on this channel for a while now, right? And so continuing, earlier I was checking out Kidology's one of her most recent videos, and she spoke about the conversation on Vice between the feminists and I guess anti-feminists. The one I was speaking about earlier, where Just Pearly Things was on there, and um, what's the other young lady name? And I said her name too. Oh, jeez. But Sydney Watson. Yeah, boom. There we go. Yeah. So that young lady, right? And you know, and Kidology brought that up, and Kidology did this video. To be honest, yeah, she blew it out the park. I'm actually going to link her video, and I might actually share it in my community tab. Um, Even if you disagree with her breakdown of the left and the right, the political spectrum was genius, right? And yeah. So yeah, she did a masterful job, and pretty much summed up what I was saying also about that video and how these people are kind of they're they're eating their own, they're eating themselves, right? So, but she did a way better job at critiquing it and just speaking about it. So, I got to give her props with that one. Um, Obviously, she spent way more time going into detail than I did. I kind of just shot from the hip. She did not do that. Um, and she did a masterful job in not doing that, right? And excuse my background, cop passing through right now. Okay, there we go. All right. Um, so, um, and I say all of that to say there's something that Kidology says, essentially how the left is getting so preoccupied with kind of micro issues instead of macro issues, right? And I think it's important um, to say this to Kidology and to others who kind of believe the same thing that she does, right? Which is the reason why I would argue that the left and Kidology kind of touches on it. So let me give her credit there. I would argue the reason why the left, oh, there go another cop. Something serious is happening in the area because cops are just flying. All right, alrighty then. No, yeah, that's not good. Anyway, so the reason that I would argue that the left is kind of in the situation it's in is, as Kidology alluded to, the left doubled down on neoliberalism. It did not really push back on neoliberalism. I mean, you have um what's the old and I mentioned his name too, and he's in my mind right now. The old labor secretary for or the advisor under Clinton, Robert Reich. Boom, yeah, Robert Reich. You had people like him like trying to fight, and they were like they're like the only ones really on the left that were really trying to push back on some of what was coming out of this kind of neoliberal project. For the most part, the left just was like, I guess, right? And so now we're here, right? So we're here now, and that's unfortunate. But so the left decided to, and I don't know if it was a conscious decision. It could have been. I wouldn't be surprised if it's some insidious muhaha stuff going on in the background. But the left decided to focus on micro situations instead of the macro, which is once again economics, your environment, what's going on socially, um, instead of our own individual situations. And you find yourselves here, and this is kind of what you saw um, Cindy Watson speak to, which is like y'all are turning your individual issues into a political situation, and it's not that serious. And it's I know that's hard for a lot of people to believe that you stubbed your toe and like that's not a political like that shouldn't we shouldn't have a whole political movement about fixing the unevenness of freaking tile floors at your homes, right? And like I know I'm being whimsical, but to prove the point, right? And like that's much of what we have here right now on the left, and it is hurting the left. So tying that train tracks, tying that to what I was speaking on earlier, which is putting these people in a straitjacket because we have had, and we've spoken about, and I've even just mentioned it, financial literacy. You've been hearing this term float around about half a decade, a little bit longer. It's a term that's been around for a while, but it really started to ramp up as a term over the past 5 or so years, maybe 6 years, right? Huh. But has anyone spoken about political literacy? Funny enough, a rapper mentioned this a little while ago, Plies, um, a few years ago, which is, if you don't get your politics in order, you'll be worth $100 million, and some guy that's worth $2 million will be dictating to you how and where and what you should be doing with your money and the taxes and whatnot. And he kind of said that in a video, not even kind of. He said that in a video, maybe I want to say Ply said that maybe 2 or 3 years ago, right? And he's correct, number one. But number two, we don't often speak about political literacy. Even in the Black community, we don't speak about political literacy as much. And I mean, we speak about politics, but we don't speak about the inner working of politics. We don't speak about what parties usually align with what, how you can get a particular party to do something for you, even if it's not necessarily in their wheelhouse. But what do you have to do to have that happen, right? Um, we don't often have those conversations. I'm tying that to the overall conversation about this money thing to say this is kind of why we are in the position we are. You know, Adam Curtis spoke about this. We're scared to engage in big projects. And I would argue that's why we're in the position we are in. It's because we're scared to engage in big projects. It's that simple. People are horrified. People are horrified to engage in big projects because what happened in Germany, what happened in Italy, um, what happened to much of the left movements coming out of World War II that got crushed, right? McCarthyism and whatnot. And so everybody's pretty much shook. And the last gasp of that coming out of the civil rights movement, the hippie movement, um, second wave feminism, you know, LGBTQ movement coming out of the 60s and 70s. Pretty much after that, that's it. And so everybody's hyper focused on themselves. And because no one's really thinking about society, community, people are doing lip service, but how much they really mean it is a different conversation. Because no one's really having that conversation, you end up where we are now, where people can't really understand what you're asking for. You have to build a society that produces that. And that's earlier I was saying how much I don't fault women for a lot of this. Where I do fault them is they don't even realize how much what they're asking to build a society. So yeah, black women, you're gonna have to build too. Well, what have y'all built? Y'all don't protect, y'all don't provide. Yeah, you're gonna have to build that. These type of men that you desire or that you would like to see your daughters end up with, you're gonna have to build the society to produce those type of men, right? All of these six-figure men, these kick-ass men, right? By the way, when all men make six figures, then six figures would be $40,000. I'm just saying, right? It will be the equivalent of $40,000, maybe even 30. But we are in the place now where people's ignorance, right? It's a certain level of, I would argue, maybe social ineptitude, if that makes any sense. I think we got Toya in the comments. Toya, how that sound? Social ineptitude, right? But a certain level of not being aware or not having the ability to do, like I made a video about this earlier, social math, right? Where you don't really understand how these things work. You just want what you want, how you want it, and you're not really doing the math, nor do you care to. And you kind of end up where we are now, and then you're mad at the world for not doing or not being who you think it should be or the world should be. Mad at men for not being who you think men should be. I mean, you literally, and I do appreciate the delusion calculator, right? Because it just speaks to like these people just saying, okay, I just want this, right? I just want this. Okay, well, is the society producing that in any number, any real number, right? Or is there a fraction of a fraction of a fraction, and some women are going to get lucky to end up with that guy? Some women are going to have to hunt that guy down. Some like, right? Or you just want what you want because you want it. Okay, that's cool. What's the likeliness of you getting it? And then if you don't, where's your contingency plan? What's plan B? Right? And what we're finding out is there is no plan B. And these women are just now having these conversations because of the internet. If it was up to your standard feminists, they would let these women crash into a wall of singleness, and misery. No one would ever tell them, hey, by the way, you sound crazy, and this is why. Not just you sound crazy. We're not trying to insult them. No, you sound crazy, and this is why. This is the reality on the ground. This is what men make. This is what the top 10% of men make, right? This is what homes cost in America. This is what just everything, right? And because we don't have, and because we, excuse me, y'all, but because we don't have enough people telling women that, we kind of find ourselves in this situation, right? Which is a bunch of young women in particular, but women in general, who don't know what's going on, don't care to know, but know they want what they want. And are there men that are affected by this? Of course, of course, of course. But the reality hits men real hard when it comes to this. I don't want to work out. I look like this. I'm not charismatic. I'm not funny. I don't make enough money, but I want this type of woman. He learns real fast. Yeah, that ain't going to be a thing. And no one's going to blow smoke up your rear end on top of that. That's the very important part. No one is going to encourage you to stay in your delusion. That's the part that needs to be stressed. That's the fundamental difference, right? And so we find ourselves in this position, and once again, it's not sustainable. This has to be a societal fix. Individual people can do their part in their own lives, but until you get a societal fix, meh, right? Y'all like, share, subscribe, hit the super chat, right? There's somewhat 21 million millionaires in America, something like that. Most of it, much of it is through home, right? Almost all these people don't have $1 million liquid. And yet you have a bunch of people, you know, many of these people never even made six figures in their life. It's their home that made them millionaires. But who's saying that to your young women, to your young men? Mr. Z, you keep on talking about the effects of society. What are the effects on society? Your young people not buying homes, not buying cars, not getting married, not even coupling, because they're hell bent on being comfortable first. And the bar for comfortable for women is on the moon right now, right? It's on the moon. And there you go. So when Mr. Z says this is not sustainable, I'm not saying that as a throwaway line. No, this is not sustainable. As evidence of certain politicians saying, yeah, we're gonna pull back a lot of this stuff because yeah, our daughters are not trying to get married. White daughters are not trying to get married and have children. Oh no, we can't have this. Right? Because they see that if this continues, that 1.6, was it 1.6 and some change birth rate for white people, for white women? Yeah, that's not sustainable. Right? Now, this was going to happen with the advancement of society anyway, much of this. And I do think eventually, you know, this this is kind of a fait accompli, right? It's going to happen anyway as you get the advancement of technology. But the reason why much of this is happening is not only because of the advancement of technology, it's because your men and women are in a cold war against each other. And a lot of that has to do with money. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that you sold your daughters and your sons, but your daughters on straight materialism for the past, I don't know, since the beginning. But right? Definitely over the past 50 or so years, and they just can't get over it. They just can't get over it. That's why when you ask them, they're looking for, when you really poll them and sit them down and say, you know what, okay, this is what's your ideal man. Okay, what's your non-ideal man, but you'll be all right with. They're still looking at the top 2% of men, 4% of men. It's this, you know, and that's what they're willing to settle with, or settle for, better yet, right? That's the settle, right? How is that sustainable? News segment after news segment after news segment. No one was really talking about this. And they still kind of aren't talking about it. They still kind of aren't. Every once in a while, because Fox News wants to play anti-establishment, they'll bring someone on to kind of promote a book or speak about something. But for the most part, outside of that, the left is definitely not bringing anyone on, right? So shout out to Kidology, but she's definitely right. The left doesn't know what to do with men and masculinity issues. Their answer is always, well, just for particularly for black men, their answer is just adopt intersectional feminist politics and you'll be all right, right? Because women aren't hypocrites. They're not virtue signaling what they want, and then when they actually get into an intimate relationship, they don't want none of that stuff they were talking about before. No, definitely not, right? Always been my argument for FD signifier. They're lying, and you know it. Most of them are lying, bro. Right? Just adopt the politics that benign neglect straight black men, and you'll be alright. Right? And of course, that's like more false than people can imagine. You know. And so now we're here. We're in a place now where people's ignorance and their ego are intertwined, and that's, I don't know if that's sad or funny or both, right? And people lack of care. I mean, I guess the social designers that kind of pushed hyper individuality got what they wanted, and so people are very individualistic, and so they don't think about the social ramification of things, and they don't think about what gets you to where you need to be to produce the type of outcomes out of others that you would appreciate, right? Building blocks. I mean, did anyone not have a Lego set? Maybe that's the maybe maybe we need to give children more Lego sets and puzzles, right? You put this Lego with that Lego, and then you start to build stuff, or you have a vision of something you want to build, and then you know you need these type of Legos to go with these type of Legos, and then you start to build it, and you realize if you don't have these type of Legos, then you can't build this type of thing the way you want to. Hey, Big Kev, that's what I'm saying though. Shout out to Big Kev. Big Kev says they don't have solutions for young brothers because they never wanted to help them in the first place. All capitals. It was always about class warfare against black men. I don't think there's more of a truth going on YouTube right now. I think Big Kev has said it all. No, serious. Serious. The other day, and I've been saying this, you know, these people are using women as the buffer class. And it's not that they don't really care about women. It's just that you have a couple of minorities in general. It's not just women, even LGBTQ women, other other women of color. You have their faces out there, even if you don't even promote them in that way for real, right? And so when working class men say you're screwing us, it comes off as sexist. It comes off as transphobic and homophobic. It comes off as everything, right? Especially when we've pretty much put black men in the same category as white men, but just more deficient. At least white men's grape, murder, pillage, conquering of the planet and of America, at least they have something to show for it, and at least their women have something to show for it. The way many black women speak is that black men did the same thing to black women, but black women don't even have anything to show for it. Let the swirlers and divestors tell it. Definitely the divestors, right? So yeah, Big Kevin, the class warfare definitely. And my argument is that we need to bring that term back and stop letting elites turn it into a dirty word. Oh, class warfare. Stop letting them try to shame us with that. Nah, there is no class warfare. It was a class blitzkrieg, and you guys won. You started off in about the mid 70s ish, and by the time Tony Blair and Bill Clinton got into power, y'all had it sewn up because if anyone was supposed to fight it, the last gasp, it was them, and they didn't. And there you go, right? And so now we're here. And because are there women who speak about these things? Yes. Are there even black women that speak about these things? Yeah, there are. How many, right? How many want to have the class talk and the money talk? Not the money talk where we start talking about these yachts and, you know, day parties and taking trips overseas to Dubai. No, 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 no. Not that money talk. Not the private jet talk. The what people really make talk. What people actually have in their savings talk. The fact that 60% of Americans can't afford $1,000 emergency talk. That talk, right? Right. How many how many women not it's okay if you don't know. It's okay if you don't know. Do you care? And do you care to know? Do you care and do you care to know? And if you don't, fine, then you don't get the right to complain when you suffer the consequences of your own ignorance, your willful ignorance, not just ignorance, but your willful ignorance. And that's been Mr. Z's argument. We have a whole bunch of people who are ignorant. I remember having this back and forth with a young lady online. Um it's this British, what is his name? Kino? Kino? No, it's not Kino. Is it? A British brother. I forgot his name. I was on his channel and I was having a back and forth with his sister. And she was like, you see, I dropped all the numbers I usually drop. And she was, you see, they're using excuses. See, this is why you need to divest. And I think she was with the black man, but regardless, virtue signaling to for other black women to divest. But okay, cool. And you know, she said something along like, these white men, they have all the money anyway. They what she said, they're gonna get inheritance and all this other stuff. And I'm like, whoa, 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 whoa. On average, $50,000 to $70,000. That's a nice down payment on a house. He could get a nice F-150 or F-250 for 70 grand. I don't even know if he could get a yeah, he could get an okay F-250 for 70 grand. I don't know how fully loaded he could get a F-250 for 70 grand, right? But that lets me know that you just don't know. You think their inheritance is some $500,000 or something. Nope. Unless he's getting the house and the house is paid off. Then you could start talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars. But if he's not getting the house and the house isn't paid off, excuse me, if he's not getting the house or he's getting the house, but there's still $200,000 left on it, $150,000 left on it. I mean, right? Spain, man. You see what I'm saying? Go ahead. Shout, rest in peace, Dr. Martin Luther King. We're gonna remix what he said and say, go ahead and divest into a burning house. I'm saying, right? And that's much of what we're dealing with. It's a total ignorance. And I brought that up to speak about how they're just ignorant to money. That's what the whole divestment thing is about, right? It's an ignorance to money where you think you're just gonna, meet some naive rich white dude who's gonna, you know, give me 1 second, y'all. I think I see something that I'm gonna have to kill. Got your ass. Yep, and it's gone. Haha. Anyway, just like that. Um, sorry, y'all. Um, yeah. So we actually, it's not we. The particular people we're talking about, the particular women we're speaking about, they are ignorant, willfully ignorant, and they're okay with it because they think there's an escape hatch. There's always an escape hatch. Spademan said, but Meghan Markle did it. You mean the damn near white mixed black woman or quarter black woman or mixed black woman, whatever, right? Who damn near got kicked out the royal family, right? Yeah, she did it. Yeah. Yeah, that's it. Right. And they bring up these celebrities like we know, like I told y'all what Paris Milan said. Kentanji chose better, right? Eve chose better, right? Yeah. Kamala chose better. Cool. Um, These escape hatches, the problem is, and this is why I brought up the inheritance, the white guys don't have it the way you think they got it either. You're going to run into the wall of your own delusion. And if the white guys don't got it, you know the Latinos don't got it. Until we come to a real, well, not even come to a real conversation, someone's going to have to sit down with the, maybe Yana Van Zant need to come back on. Nope. Right? Oh, shout out to Better You. Better You said, but Mr. Z, if one black woman can be a princess, then that means they all they all have a shot. Yeah, that's it. Because let's see. Some 20 some odd million black women in America. How many kings and princes are there on the planet? Oh, well, there's about 56 million millionaires on the planet. More than half of them are already married. So problem number one for black women. Um, that's number one. Number two, the places where they reside in the most are obviously America and China. Ooh, like I mentioned this before. Black women talk about physique all the time and they want somebody built and they want somebody tall and they want somebody that looks like this and like that. And most of those Chinese dudes do not fit into that. All right. Where else are you going to find a bunch of millionaires? In Europe. Ooh, ugh. I don't know how many German and French, maybe Brit. I mean, some Brits, right? Yeah, and some obviously some French white men, some Germans. There's some Germans too, but yeah. And then once again, now you're competing against the Africans, and in Britain in particular, the Caribbean population of blacks that already live in Britain and already got access to those men anyway, right? So yeah, I mean that whole one person got a prince, so we all could get a prince. One person got a millionaire, so we can all get a millionaire. 8 billion people on the planet. 8 billion people on the planet. 56 million millionaires. I mentioned this before. Let's say they're miscounting it. They need to double it. Okay, I'll even add extra onto it because that would have been 112. Let's say it's 120 million millionaires out of 8 billion people. Yeah, nah, right? And ignorance of this is just going to cause you to have more and more problems. And you will continue to have people like me making videos like this. Shout out to the brother, the elder BGS. People like BGS making videos like he make. The white manosphere just bringing women on, asking them what they want, and then showing them how I don't. I'm trying to find the word to describe how like unbelievably rare what they're asking for is, right? Like it, I don't know. And you know, you listen to some of these people talk, and they speak as if you're trying to beat down their hope. And it's funny because what they call hope, we call delusion, right? It's like that's what you think hope is, right? That you could meet a super baller dude that will buy you out of all your struggles and your student loan debt and your issue with your mother and your siblings and just whisk you away on a carpet made of money like he's Aladdin or somebody, right? It's just it you know, like I said, for us younger Xers, us millennials, us older Gen Z, we are still young enough. We will see how this works. This conversation on the internet has been on forever, but at this fever pitch, especially with some of the names that we now know, about a decade, let's say a decade. Let's say a decade, even though, I've been listening to Sarge Willie Pete forever, right? So, but let's say a decade, right? Um, I've known about Tommy Sotomayor for over a decade, but okay, let's say a decade. Still, let's say a decade, right? Huh. If we give it another 2 decades, then we will truly be able to see how much the Chrissy, Paris Milan, Real Talk with Yannies, all of those particular content creators, the Cynthia G's, I'm not gonna name all of them, but those particular content creators from air quotes the center of that type of conversation all the way to the extremist on that side. Let's see how much of what they're saying actually benefits black women, but we have to give it some time, right? We already have our predictions, but let's see, right? And Big Kev says they don't respect those men, to be honest. Yeah, they don't. They don't, right? I know that. They're not attracted to those men either, right? But okay, y'all. On that note, y'all know I'm already dealing with a bit of a bug. I don't want to take too long speaking. But I definitely had to make a part two because Big Kev caught me right before I closed out with the super chat. I'm like, God damn it, right? The last video. Um, but yeah, so like I said, I don't blame women, black women, for falling for the foolishness because generations have. It was what you were told, what you were socialized, not even told, because nobody tapped you on the shoulder and dictated to you, but it was what you were socialized to believe. Materialism is going to help me through life, especially if I'm single or lonely, right? I'll be okay, right? And yeah, and now we're here, and yeah, that's not the case, right? But many people don't know how to reverse course. They don't know. They they even look at their spouse's products. That's why they have a list of things they want, right? And we have, human beings. We have things that we want, but when you have the list and that's what you stick into and that's what it is, ah, well, I mean, look where we are, you know. All right, Better You, let's see what you got for me. Better You says, I feel the problem with the type of women you are talking about these days, let me see, us that their feelings trump reality, true, and there's no room for this. I think you mean no room for discussion. I feel the government don't negotiate with terrorists. Look, um, I think more and more men are. That's where they are. I mean, that's where the passport bros come in, right? And that's why that's where excuse me, that's where the passport bros come in, and that's where SYSBM come in, right? That's where they come in, which is like essentially what they're. whether they realize it or not, if they ever even seen the clip or not, they're telling Iyanla Van Zant, no, we're not standing in it with these women who don't appreciate us anyway. Stand in it for someone who's going to talk down to me anyway, or not even see that I'm standing in their BS with them and trying to shepherd them through. Nah, nope, not gonna do it. Uh-uh, right? So yeah, I would argue more and more young men, black men in particular, they're not engaging in this. Why would they? And like that's the that is the question no one has an answer for young men. When I say young men under the age of 40, 45, no one has an answer for them, right? No one has an answer for why should they. Not the conservatives, not the liberals, not the why should I bite the bullet for this person who thinks they're better than me anyway? That's the question. Not only thinks they're better than me, thinks I'm a deficient version of them, right? As I said before, black boys are raised that you are a defective white boy and a defective black girl simultaneously, right? You're not going to have the power and the prestige and the wealth of the white boy when he becomes a man, and you don't have the emotional intelligence, the humanitarian spirit, the sense of justice, the loving, spirit of the black woman. So you're deficient both, you know. And on that note, all right, you guys, I will pause right here. Right, let me go inside and chill out and actually try to heal up. Right, um, love, peace, and chicken grease. Um, but yeah, this, like I said, I don't blame women for this. I don't blame black women for this. I don't blame different age groups and generations for this. It's what we were socialized in. Um, y'all know me. I do read, but I'm big on documentaries. Huge. And yeah, I don't even share nearly as much. All the things I watch, I don't even. It's ridiculous, and all the things I listen to is ridiculous. And the more you read and watch things, the more you realize how much this was. A lot of this was the elite just trying to hoard money. They didn't care about the ramifications. Sometimes they knew what it would be. Sometimes they didn't, nor did they care. Right? And your society's here now, but it's up to us to fight back against that. But it's hard to have that conversation when people are just so hell bent on, I want this way because that's what I want, because that's what's going to make me feel better about myself and my life and my outcomes. So yeah. Anyway, on that note, love, peace, and chicken grease. Y'all have a great rest of y'all night. I don't know if anyone has a live going on or is going to. Y'all check out other Black Manosphere content, other non-Black Manosphere related content. Like I said, you know, she already is gonna get a million zillion views, and she's not. She's gonna get like tens of thousands, maybe even a couple 100,000 views. But um, Kidology's video on how the left is kind of squandering its position was really good. She did an even better job than I did a few days ago when I covered it. So that was fire. Oh, Charles. Okay, so Charles is gonna have a stream up. Okay, so y'all check out Charles. Thanks, Spade Man. Um, Charles, I don't know if you was gonna have a stream up, but think Spade Man just called you out. So yeah, so like I said, check out other, and that's why I always tell you guys at the end, check out other non-Manosphere content, man. Shout out to the brother Sarge Willie Pete. Like Sarge Willie Pete and me pretty much watch a bunch of the same things, right? So We have an understanding. Like I said, the UPS driver, $40 an hour. UPS, that's 80 grand a year, something like. Beautiful, right? So, you know, blue collar, and there you go, right? So yeah, I'm happy we're starting to have that conversation again because yeah, before this it was looking real ugly. Like I told y'all before, y'all remember certain things would happen and some people would start speaking and you almost wonder like, what, bruh? Wait, you making it seem like if you know, like I don't know. I'm yeah. There was certain things that used to go on and some commentators would speak as if, or at least my perception was that if you ain't have no money, then maybe you getting out of here is what you deserve because you wasn't balling out of control. I'll say that, right? I'll leave it at that, right? So yeah, yeah. And that's why I shared also with you guys who how the internet was stolen really good, right? Really, really good. Um, yeah. So like I said, let me pause right here. I'll go on forever. Um, and y'all have a great rest of y'all night. Like I said, love, peace, and chicken grease. And Mr. Z out. All right, y'all.